Yo, what is going on, my beautiful brothers and sisters, fellow radiators of love? My name is Jamal Pope, aka J Phoenix. In this video, we're going to be talking about the moon in Leo, while the sun is in Libra. Well, I think this is actually going to make for one of the more interesting aspects and transits of the week, and maybe of the year, kind of low key. I'm not going to be showing the charts, obviously, because I'm out here just walking about and stuff, getting some sun, as you will. And this moon in Leo is definitely going to be spicing some things up. It's going to be wanting to bring forward more passion, more looking into things like romance, and it's going to want to jog our creative juices, if you will. But what's interesting about this moon, especially when it first comes into Leo, is a lot of the aspects that it's making. First of all, it forms a grand fire trine with Neptune that's here in Aries at 0 degrees, and you also have, while it's an asteroid, it's Juno that's over there in Sagittarius. So we have a grand fire trine, but we also at the same time have a grand air trine too, with Pluto, which has recently gone direct in Aquarius, the first Pluto station direct in Aquarius in over 200 years, right? Because the last time that Pluto came direct, it was in Capricorn. Time before that, it was Capricorn. So it actually did its full retrograde motion in Aquarius and has gone direct in Aquarius, right? So we have Venus freshly ingressed into Libra, its home sign, making the trine over to this Pluto. And of course, they're also trining over to Uranus in Gemini. And if you look at the chart, it actually kind of creates a bit of a Star of David with this fire energy and this air energy. And that's the world that we are heading into right now. We are heading into a fire and air energy world. When you bring these two things together, it creates explosions. It creates this larger, explosions is really the way to look at it. And I think that's kind of the world that we are moving into. We're going to be moving more into an explosive, in-your-face kind of world. This can be positive, and this can be negative as well. We're going to experience both. So this can allow us to really tap more into our creative potential, our creative juices, kind of get the ball rolling, get things moving, especially now that we have a few of these planets, like at least we have Pluto that's finally coming forward, right? But, we still have planets that are going to be retrograding over the next several months, right? So there's this interesting kind of peering into the future of what's possible. This moon in Leo, we're going to be reacting and responding more in a Leo-like way. So we're going to be reacting and responding more to our passions, our creativities, love, romance. But we have to consider that this moon, in respect to the sun, is in the 11th house. This is going to be dealing with humanities. This is going to be dealing with large swaths of people. This is going to be dealing with rebellions. And because this is a moon in Leo and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot of this energy surrounding rebellions, surrounding marginalized groups, surrounding, trying to cater to the wide swath of people instead of individuals. You're going to see this come up a lot more over the next couple of days. This moon's going to be here for all of Tuesday, all of Wednesday, and for the first little bit of Thursday when it will shift into Virgo. Which is going to be interesting because then that's when things are going to start to kind of mobilize, start to organize once that moon hits into Virgo. Utilize these next couple of days though, really, like I said, this is an 11th house aspect. So I think we do need some nuance within these conversations. I think we can definitely get some things going, get some projects going in a sense, because this moon in Leo is wanting to give us the energy, the Leo-like energy to kind of just go out there and create. Well, we also have to remember the humor in things. Leo loves to laugh, so we have to be able to find the humor in things, but it may be hard to do so with all of this wild, chaotic, once in a lifetime kind of energy. Like if you literally look at the chart, you see a grand fire trine, which also is performing a kite, and then you see a grand air trine as well. Like you see both of them. So what happens, like I said, when you bring air and fire together? You get explosions. You get the fire building up. And that's where we are right now. It's like I was talking to my wife just about stuff in general, but how we are kind of in this world where the Band-Aid has been kind of peeled off. And the anesthesia kind of wore off for a lot of people over the last several years. The anesthesia that our society can't really continue the way that it has gone much longer. But the weird conundrum is the fact that even though there's this energy to want to move forward and to create new things, there's still kind of this magnetic pullback. Because we still have this Saturn in Pisces, because we have Neptune that's going to go back into Pisces, because we have Uranus that's going to retrograde back into Taurus, there is still a bit of this pullback where it's like, hold on, wait a minute, we still have to address some things in the past. We still have to go back and understand and get context for why things are the way that they are, how we even got here in the first place, and what can we do to move forward. So there's still a lot of cleanup. The beautiful thing about this is that I think that this moon in Leo is going to give us very much so a nice needed boost of hopefully positivity for us to go forth and create beautiful things. The question is how are we going to use these things to continue the bifurcation of culture, the bifurcation of how we relate to other people. Like I said, you want to utilize this time to find the humor in things. Leo is always trying to find the humor in things, maybe even if it's dark humor or something like that. But utilize this. This is great energy. The personal planets are in relatively good places. Mars is in Scorpio, where it likes to be, and Venus is now in Libra, where it really likes to be as well. So we have some positive energy here that's assisting us through this time. Looking on the bright side of things, I think it's going to be very, very important. I think we want to obviously be aware of the things that are happening in the world, but also kind of look back at the person, our personal lives, and be like, where can I make these changes? Remember, we are still in a bit of this release mode, but the releasing is kind of waning off. Now we're going to start to be thinking about, especially with this moon in Leo, that even though we are still kind of releasing some of these things, right? We're going to start to be thinking more, and it's going to be percolating in our minds of what can we create? What is something new that I can bring forward and manifest with the new moon that we're going to be having here in Libra? So, like I said, I think it could be really good. I really do. I think this moon in Leo is actually going to be bringing about some positive energy that we really need. But don't be surprised that once this moon hits Virgo, that there's sort of a reality that kicks in. There's sort of like a kind of a starkness of like, this is the way that things are, that kind of kicks in. But remember, Virgo is a mutable sign. So just because it may look this way, and that's just because these are the details, we can get so caught up in, we have these great big ideas with the moon in Leo, but then it gets to Virgo, and then we obsess over the details. And I think bringing up the details is important. It's important to have an idea, it's important to have some structure, it's important to have a sort of outline, if you will, but we also don't want to forget about the inspirations and motivations that we have over the next couple of days before that moon goes into Virgo. We don't want to forget about that part, because you're not going to have all the answers, you're not going to have all the clues, you're not going to know exactly how it's going to go. So if you get to that moon in Virgo, which the moon will be in will start to enter into its dark phase, that last little bit of things that we have to release before we get to the new moon. If you forget about the creativity and the passion that you're wanting to bring forth and wanting to manifest, and if you forget about how to find the joy and the light and the humor in things, when you get to that moon in Virgo, you can find yourself going right back into the same trap of not actually taking real, true, actionable steps, because you're obsessing over the way that it looks, the way that it smells, the way that it, the way that it feels, all the different sensory aspects of it too, because that stuff really gets real when the moon goes into Virgo. That tactile kind of thing, you can obsess over that when that moon hits Virgo. So don't forget Tuesday, don't forget Wednesday, don't forget the beginning of Thursday, once the moon hits that spot, because you're not going to have all the answers, you're not going to have all the clues, and that is okay. This is about being creative, this is about taking chances, it's about getting a little bit messy, and it's going to be a little bit messy. I think we have to look at it as like, this is a whole big experiment that we're doing, this whole thing, humanity, it's one large experiment. We're kind of an experiment. None of us is perfect, and none of us is complete right? We are all constantly moving and evolving, and this is something that will always happen. So that's what I have for you guys for this moon in Leo. Definitely utilize this to get your creative juices flowing. And like I said, now that we have some planets that are in some good places, we can start to really utilize this energy in a very positive way. Sometimes I think we take for granted when planets are in their home signs. You know, with Mars in Scorpio, Venus in Libra, sometimes we could take that stuff for granted, but we still have that sun in Libra. It's in its fall position, but this is about how can we find that balance and harmony in our life. So y'all take care, stay blessed. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.